On January 15, 2025, Israel and Hamas reached a significant ceasefire agreement, aiming to conclude a 15-month conflict that has resulted in substantial loss of life and widespread devastation in the Gaza Strip. This accord, brokered with the assistance of the United States, Egypt, and Qatar, outlines a phased approach to de-escalation, humanitarian relief, and the eventual reconstruction of Gaza. Phase 1. Initial ceasefire and hostage exchange. The first phase, set to commence on January 19, 2025, initiates a 6-week ceasefire during which Israeli forces will gradually withdraw from central Gaza. This withdrawal is intended to facilitate the return of displaced Palestinians to their homes in northern Gaza. Concurrently, Hamas has agreed to release 33 Israeli hostages, including women, children, and men over the age of 50. In reciprocation, Israel will release Palestinian detainees, with the exchange ratio set at 30 Palestinian prisoners for each civilian hostage and 50 for each Israeli female soldier released. This phase also mandates the daily entry of 600 truckloads of humanitarian aid into Gaza, with 50 trucks designated for fuel and 300 allocated to northern regions. Phase 2. Comprehensive ceasefire and further withdrawals. By the 16th day of the initial ceasefire, negotiations are slated to begin for the second phase, focusing on the release of all remaining hostages, the establishment of a permanent ceasefire, and the complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. This stage aims to solidify the cessation of hostilities and lay the groundwork for long-term peace and stability in the region. Phase 3. Reconstruction and governance. The third and final phase addresses the return of all remaining bodies and initiates the reconstruction of Gaza. This process will be supervised by Egypt, Qatar, and the United Nations, ensuring that rebuilding efforts are coordinated and effective. Discussions will also encompass the establishment of an interim Palestinian Authority in Gaza and the West Bank, with international partners facilitating the transition towards an independent Palestinian state. During this interim period, security forces from Arab countries will be deployed in Gaza and the West Bank to maintain peace and order. International mediation and guarantees. The successful negotiation of this ceasefire is attributed to the concerted efforts of Qatar, Egypt, and the United States, who have been instrumental in mediating between the conflicting parties. These nations will continue to serve as guarantors of the agreement, playing pivotal roles in its implementation and in ensuring compliance from both sides. Their involvement is crucial in facilitating humanitarian assistance and overseeing the reconstruction of Gaza. Domestic and international reactions. The announcement of the ceasefire has elicited a spectrum of reactions. In Gaza, residents have taken to the streets in celebration, expressing relief at the prospect of peace and the anticipated influx of humanitarian aid. Conversely, within Israel, the agreement has sparked political debate. Some hardline members of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition government have voiced opposition to the terms, particularly concerning the release of Palestinian prisoners. Despite these internal disagreements, the Israeli Security Cabinet has approved the deal, with the full government's ratification expected imminently. Challenges and prospects. While the ceasefire agreement marks a pivotal step towards ending hostilities, its successful implementation faces several challenges. The phased approach requires sustained commitment from both Israel and Hamas, as well as continuous support from international mediators. The political dynamics within Israel, including opposition from certain factions, could influence the government's adherence to the accord. Moreover, the reconstruction of Gaza necessitates substantial resources and coordination, underscoring the importance of the roles played by Egypt, Qatar, and the United Nations. The path to lasting peace remains complex, requiring ongoing dialogue, mutual concessions, and a concerted effort to address the underlying causes of the conflict.